friends, old and new. I am Rob, the creator and performer of the Lair of OmnusI YouTube channel. Here again for another question for 2019's RPGaDay from the RPG Brigade from Facebook. And here we are with an interesting topic for today. It is just share, which can be taken in a lot of different directions. So what I thought I would do is I would share with you my experiences that I had. And one of the very first things that I did in role-playing, this was back in the summer of late 1980, 88 or 89. A friend of mine had gone off to another school for a little while, a seminary. And there he met a bunch of people who were really into role-playing games, like really into them. And at the seminary, as I found out, because I then went to that seminary the next year myself, you have a lot of time on your hands to play games. You're there away from your family, so you've got your friends around you. You have chores to do. You go to church. You go to class and eat. And that's about it. Everything else you can do immense amounts of gaming, which we did. But before I went there, he was just telling me all these things and relating all these things. And I got my first, my basic Dungeons and Dragons set, and we played that a bit. But a lot of what he brought to me was these stories about all these other type of role-playing games. Some that you just couldn't go down to the B. Dalton's, which was our bookstore in Marinette, which is the closest larger city to me, because I'm originally from the hinterlands of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, so yes, I'm a Youper, but I'm happily acclimated here in Wisconsin, so it's not that big of a difference. But anyhow, so a lot of these games he was telling me about, you just couldn't find. You could find the Dungeons and Dragons box sets, but that was about it. Most of the other things were only going to be in hobby shops and, special order stores. And since I was, just a freshman in, the summer after my freshman year of high school, I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have a job. There weren't any jobs close enough to me to get to. So it was just a summer of leisure, really. So we talked about role-playing games. We played a lot. But one that he told me about that really caught our imagination, or my imagination, was a game called Top Secret, which was a game that was all about spies and espionage and cool stuff like that. So what he did was, he told me about the game, and then we tried to reverse engineer it from what he remembered and recreate the game as best as we could. I'm not going to say it was good. It was fairly basic. It used percentile dice to, figure out your chances of success or failure. And it had a number of elements that were largely inspired by Mask, which was a cartoon back then about people who had vehicles that could transform, and all of a sudden the cool sports car, suddenly the gull wings opened up and it had rockets and could fly, and missiles that could fire. And it was all about, having, cool drivable vehicles and people, but then they'd turn into something else. Which was cool, and we thought that was really good for spies, so we incorporated a lot of that into our game. A lot of balance didn't really exist, like hand-to-hand weapons all did the same amount of damage. In a infamous adventure that we ran for it, one character picked up a turkey leg. It was doing the same kind of damage as he would have done with a sword. So a lot of times our weapon supplies were a cast iron frying pan. You can really chuck a cast iron frying pan if you try. I've tried. It's quite satisfying. Turkey legs and whatever else, because you could rip people's arms off with those things in our game. Yeah, as far as overall game quality, it was okay. It was enough to keep us entertained through the summer, certainly. I was saddened to find out that all of my older records, notes, and that game were destroyed, unfortunately, by When I left for college, my family took in foster children and they trashed all my old stuff. So it's lost to the ages, but I still have the memories, and I trust my friend Gary that helped me come up with all that stuff probably remembers that stuff too. So we've kind of fallen out of touch, but it would be neat to get back with him on. The game that I created solely by myself, however, I created a wrestling game. I loved pro wrestling back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I was also very much into it during the WWF, WCW wars. So back then, I created a role-playing game using basically D20 mechanics. Roll a 20-sided die, add up your modifiers, boom, if you hit, you hit. And I had a collection of well over 100 different moves. So you had different classes of wrestlers. You had the high flyers, you had the tough guys, you had the strong guys, you had the technicians, you had the martial artists, and they specialized in their own moves. Although they could try a wide variety of moves, they specialized in certain ones so that different wrestlers would be known for their particular moves, and then you would choose a finisher as well that would do extra damage. And it got its own little measure of fame in my circle. It was fun. I called it Rob's Rockin' Wrestling, because Hulk Hogan had his Rockin' Wrestling, and this was Rob's Rockin' Wrestling. So it worked out. So those were some of my earlier experiences with role-playing games, and I actually just recently found the notebook that had most of my notes on my wrestling game. So I still have that. I'm pretty happy about that. Where it is now, I'm not sure, but it's still here. So I know it survived. So those are my experiences early on. I thought you'd enjoy if I shared with you. I hope you liked it. And for more stories, keep tuned with these RPGaDay questions. We're going to have some pretty personal ones, so I'll be relating things from my past and my own personal tastes and likes and dislikes. So if you enjoyed this, please keep watching. And I'm sure other people had some very different takes on what share meant to their videos. So look for hashtag RPGaDay and see what other people have put out. It should be very interesting. Thank you very much, and I'm Rob. I will see you the next time I crawl out in front of the internet to make one of these videos. Thanks, and farewell.